Okay. So traditionally, this was performed by in-person clinical examinations and slit lamp biomicroscopy or indirect ophthalmoscopy with a clinician. However, if this approach is used, due to the rapidly increasing number of people with diabetes, a time investment of up to 4.5 million hours per year will be needed from every ophthalmologist by the year 2030 to evaluate all patients with diabetes at least once annually. So clearly, the approach of in-person examinations is impractical and unsuitable in current healthcare settings. So there are challenges that have health system roots and implications. So there is still a lack of awareness about the eye complications of diabetes and the importance of regular eye examinations due to low functional health literacy in many populations. Limited access to both primary care and specialized eye health services, including treatment infrastructure and geographic isolation, are other barriers to DR blindness prevention. So DR also primarily affects the working age population, leading to decreased economic productivity, dependence on activities of daily living, and even depression. So recognizing the traditional in-person methods for DR evaluation are essential but not enough to meet the demand, many health systems globally have turned to the use of fundus photography with teleophthalmology. So population-based retinal evaluation through teleophthalmology has enabled the systematic deployment of diabetic eye screening programs to a wider geographic area and access to a diverse patient population. So in teleophthalmology, DRSPs or diabetic retinopathy screening programs, screening units are placed at strategic community locations where patients with diabetes can have their retinal images taken, which can then be analyzed remotely by trained graders at a centralized reading center. Uh, sorry. Um, and the results and recommendations are then sent back to the patient at screening sites, including the follow-up details and referral or treatment recommendations if required. So this decreases the need for in-person exams with a clinician and has proven to be a cost-effective strategy. So in order for these screening units to be effective, we need good quality images, which can only be achieved with validated fundus cameras. So we know from the landmark ATDRS studies that 7-field photography is the gold standard for grading diabetic retinopathy severity. So on this slide, you can see sample photos of each of the 7 fields, which can then be combined to create an image montage. And then the introduction of ultra-wide field imaging in the past decade has allowed visualization of a substantially wider area of the retina and the identification of peripheral lesions in fundus photography among eyes with DR. In diabetic eye screening, ultra-wide field imaging can produce good quality images, thereby reducing image ungradable rates and increasing the rate of disease identification, allowing care to be delivered more effectively. So one of the success stories in diabetic eye care is the United Kingdom's National Health Service or NHS diabetic eye screening program. So using fundus photography and teleophthalmology, the program was able to achieve an increasing population coverage with an uptake of up to around 83%. So in fact, diabetic retinopathy is no longer considered the leading cause of blindness among working age adults in England and Wales for the first time in 5 decades. The NHS Diabetic Eye Screening Program provides guidance on camera approval, which allows NHS organizations to buy approved cameras from a catalog. So approved cameras are evaluated by an expert team to make sure they can detect appropriate levels of diabetic retinopathy, are user-friendly, and can be integrated into the existing system. The use of these conventional tabletop fundus cameras for wide-scale diabetic eye screening programs is not feasible in many places, however, especially in low-resource settings in geographically isolated areas due to lack of infrastructure and high cost of screening equipment. So these are just some examples of geographically isolated areas where our screening team from our pilot program in Central Luzon went to. So some low to middle income countries have turned to using mobile imaging devices, allowing broader accessibility of imaging with improved portability. Recent advances in mobile handheld retinal imaging provide an opportunity to to increase access to retinal examinations that will allow early identification of eyes at risk for visual loss using less expensive but more convenient imaging devices. However, portability and affordability are not enough to warrant the use of mobile cameras for screening, so their use also have to be medically accurate or scientifically sound. Since these handheld retinal imaging devices will be used to guide treatment, they will need rigorous validation to assess agreement with the standard of care. Therefore, before incorporating handheld retinal imaging devices into your diabetic retinopathy screening programs, they must first be validated against the gold standard tabletop cameras to prove that they perform well according to established screening criteria. Hence, our team came up with this instrument validation study, the purpose of which is to compare non-mydriatic and mydriatic handheld retinal imaging with standard ETDRS 7-field color fundus photography for the assessment of DR and diabetic macular edema. So this study was a collaborative effort between partners from the Philippines, the United Kingdom, and the United States. So this was a single-site, prospective cross-sectional multi-device instrument validation study, and a total of 225 eyes from 116 patients with diabetes were included in the study. All patients underwent fundus photography using handheld retinal cameras and a standard tabletop camera with and without pupil dilation. The four handheld cameras included are InView, RetinaView 700, SmartScope, and Aurora. One handheld camera, the InView, was not included in the non-mydriatic dataset analysis as it failed to capture gradable non-mydriatic images. So this slide illustrates the non-dilated retinal images we captured using the various handheld fundus cameras compared to your standard ETDRS photographs. And this slide compares the different dilated retinal images with standard ETDRS photographs. So as you can see, the extent of retina image with multi-field handheld imaging using some cameras approximates that of the ETDRS 7 fields. So appropriately trained and certified image graders acquired the retinal images which were anonymized before grading. The diabetic retinal lesions were evaluated using the International Classification Scale, and grading was performed by mass graders at a centralized reading center. Referable disease was defined as moderate NPDR or worse, any DME, or ungradable images. And then vision-threatening DR was defined as severe NPDR or worse, any DME, or ungradable images. And disagreements were adjudicated by a senior retina specialist, and the adjudicate grade was considered the final assessment. We then calculated for the agreement levels and the sensitivity and specificity. The threshold for sensitivity was 80% and for specificity was 95% based on UK NHS standards. So the baseline characteristics and the severity by ETDRS photos for DR and DME are listed on Table 1. For non-mydriatic handheld retinal imaging, agreement for DR was highest with the Aurora device, and DME agreement was highest with RetinaView. For mydriatic handheld imaging, agreement with DR was highest with Aurora and RetinaView, and similarly, DME agreement was also highest for these two devices. Agreement for DR severity with ETDRS photos was also highest with mydriatic Aurora, and sensitivity and specificity were met by non-mydriatic SmartScope for any DR, by mydriatic Aurora for any DR and referable DR, and by mydriatic RetinaView for any DR and referable DR. And the standards for sensitivity and specificity for DME were met by mydriatic Aurora and RetinaView. So I'll be summarizing these results later. So because this is a kind of a busy slide. So with pupil dilation, the ungradable rates decreased and exact agreement with ETDRS photos increased. So, in conclusion, our results demonstrated that following a standardized imaging protocol, handheld retinal imaging devices have moderate to substantial agreement with 7-field ETDRS photography via tabletop cameras and can meet standards for sensitivity and specificity in identifying referable levels of DR. So we also need to evaluate the cost effectiveness of using these portable imaging devices for community-based diabetic eye screening, as this is important for program sustainability and can increase program support from decision makers. Results from our study here in the Philippines show that handheld retinal imaging yields good value for money based on their validity and the incremental cost effectiveness ratio value, or the ICER value, and has great potential for being cost effective in community-based teleophthalmology DR screening programs. However, even with teleophthalmology using these handheld retinal imaging devices, the sheer volume of images that need to be graded in a timely manner is a huge challenge for diabetic retinopathy screening programs. Training and certification of human readers also take time and requires considerable financial investment, which can be prohibitive for many health systems, especially in low to middle income countries like the Philippines. So the use of automated grading through artificial intelligence, or AI, can potentially address this need. So automation of the image grading process via AI in teleophthalmology programs can increase throughput while maintaining cost efficiency. AI provides DR assessment of point of care, or POC, and can decrease the image grading burden by identifying eyes with referable disease automatically without any significant delay. The challenge with AI is ensuring accuracy that should be at par with how human graders are performing. Despite the large interest in AI for diabetic retinopathy, to the best of our knowledge, there are only 3 published prospective studies and only 3 US FDA approved AI algorithms that are limited to 2 specific retinal cameras. So there is a need for more evidence to prove that AI systems for DR evaluation perform as well as human graders in real world scenarios, especially on handheld retinal images in community settings with limited resources. So hence we conducted another study, this time to prospectively evaluate handheld retinal images assessed by AI at point of care during the time of imaging as compared to standard retinal image readers at a centralized reading center in a pilot community-based teleophthalmology diabetic retinopathy screening program in Central Luzon. So this was a prospective comparative study of AI assessment of referable DR and vision-threatening DR. Referable DR again was defined as moderate NPDR or worse, any DME or ungradable images, while vision-threatening DR was defined as severe NPDR or worse, any DME or ungradable images. So adult patients with diabetes from a community-based pilot teleophthalmology diabetic retinopathy screening program in Central Luzon were enrolled in the study. So mid-reatic retinal photos were obtained by trained imagers using the Aurora IQ handheld fundus camera. So if you remember from the previous study, the Aurora IQ handheld camera was the one that met the sensitivity and specificity values for detecting referable levels of DR. So that's why that's the camera that we used for this study. So point of care AI assessment of disc and macula-centered images was compared with reading center evaluation of validated 5-field handheld retinal images comprising of disc-centered, macular, temporal, superior, and inferior periphery photos. Reading center evaluation followed the international classification, and POC AI assessment was provided by the Aurora camera's integrated software using specified referable DR and vision-threatening DR thresholds. Sensitivity and specificity for ungradable images, referable DR, and vision-threatening DR were calculated, and false negative gradings were confirmed by a retina specialist. So 5,585 eyes from 2,793 patients with diabetes were enrolled in this study. So for the cohort demographic, 64.4% of the subjects were female, The mean age was 59 years old, and type 2 diabetes was present in 95.5% of patients, and the mean diabetes duration is around 7 years. So reading center distribution of DR severity is presented in this table, and DME severity is also presented in this table. Referable DR was present in 25.3% of patients of eyes, and vision threatening DR was present in 17.5% of eyes by reading centered evaluation. So images were ungradable for DR or DME in 7.5% of eyes. So this table summarizes the sensitivity and specificity values and operating characteristics of the point of care integrated AI that we used in this study. So there is substantial agreement for referable DR and moderate agreement for vision threatening DR and ungradable images when using point of care AI compared with reading center evaluation. So sensitivity and specificity of AI grading compared to reading center evaluation was 86% and 86% for referable DR and 92% and 80% for vision threatening DR. So using the US FDA thresholds of 85% sensitivity and 82.5% specificity, um, these were met by AI for referable DR but not for vision threatening DR. So this table compares the performance of point of care AI with existing US FDA approved AI systems for referable DR. So in general, the performance values of the AI that we used in this study is comparable to the currently US FDA approved AI systems. All four systems meet the sensitivity and specificity threshold set by the US FDA for referable DR. However, the integrated AI suffers from a higher AI failure rate, and upon review, this was mainly due to poorer image quality on handheld retinal cameras compared to tabletop cameras used by the three FDA-approved systems. Our AI was also primarily trained on images from tabletop cameras and not on handheld cameras, which could have contributed to this result. So it will be imperative to address this high failure rate in future versions of the software, since this will impact on the efficiency and acceptability of AI grading in your diabetic screening program. As a caveat, it is important to note that comparing these AI systems is not straightforward. The difference in the performance of these systems may be due to several factors, including difference in the cameras, image sets, and grading methods used, dissimilar clinical settings, variations in algorithm threshold, or a combination of these factors. So these are presented here merely as a reference and do not generally represent comparative performance. The prevalence of referable disease in our study population was considerably higher than in other studies due to the significant first pass effect that is observed during the first round of screening in newly implemented screening programs. So since most of these patients in the study never had any prior DR screening visits, a higher level of previously undetected prevalent disease was noted in the initial year of screening. So this initial large demand on specialized eye care services will need to be considered when planning for a wide-scale diabetic retinopathy screening program. So in summary, the utilization of teleophthalmology can help broaden the reach of diabetic retinopathy screening programs. Teleophthalmology diabetic retinopathy screening programs require good quality images to assist in clinical decision making. Before incorporating fundus cameras into diabetic retinopathy screening programs, they must first be validated against the gold standard tabletop cameras to prove that they can perform as well according to established screening criteria. Handheld retinal imaging devices are accurate for detecting referable levels of diabetic retinopathy and their size, portability, cost effectiveness, and ease of use attributes can allow them to be widely deployed in community-based diabetic retinopathy screening programs across different income settings. Point of care AI at the time of imaging, following a defined retinal imaging protocol using handheld fundus cameras, has sensitivity and specificity for referable DR that meets the current US FDA thresholds. Our results suggest that currently, when using integrated AI, only referable DR and not vision-threatening DR may be used as the threshold for screening when using handheld retinal imaging. Integrating artificial intelligence or AI grading at the point of care in community-based diabetic retinopathy screening programs could substantially reduce centralized screening center burden and speeds information delivery to the patient, allowing for more prompt eye care referral. So looking ahead, health systems globally should start to explore how AI can be integrated into their existing programs to help cope with the current and expected rise in demand for DR screening services. So other issues surrounding AI implementation for DR screening, such as their legal and regulatory approvals, data disparity and representation, your ethical issues, algorithm optimization, and user patient acceptability must be addressed in further studies. So if anyone's interested to read more about the two studies that I discussed this afternoon, the journal articles are already available online, open access through these DOI links or through these QR codes. So I have no financial relationships to disclose, but I have to acknowledge our research funders, the UK Medical Research Council, the Philippine Council for Health Research and Development, also my mentors during research fellowship, Professor Kundepeto and Dr. Paulo Silva, and all our colleagues and collaborators in the UK and the Philippines and the US for their support. And again, thank you to Makati Medical Center Department of Ophthalmology, especially to my training officer, Dr. Sherman Valero, for this invitation to speak this afternoon. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Thank you very much, Resi. Buena manong lecture to, no? From coming back, after
yes.
coming back.
Yes.
So we're very fortunate that Resi was able to spare some time and share his expertise with us. I'll probably start the ball rolling. I have a few questions. For the handheld photographs, what's the learning curve for what is the learning curve for your technicians or for your users?
So
very long, steep, or ano?
It's very for the Retina View, Smart Scope, and Aurora, because we use 4 cameras.
Okay.
For the 3, it's very easy to use. It's very intuitive, very user friendly. So our technicians only practiced on a few patients before they were able to use it well. But for the
your technicians are ophthalmic technicians already.
Yes, sir.
To begin with,
they underwent training, sir, through the UK partner.
Okay.
But they're Filipino. They're from the Philippine Eye Research Institute.
Okay.
But we have them trained in the UK for
my question lang kasi is if we're gonna do this on a wider scale here locally, kung sino yung who can be the ones to do the image acquisition, no? The reach of your primary healthcare centers. I don't know if that's what we're targeting, what you will target, no? But ano yung skill level na to possibly do photography? No?
Sir, yun nga po. So madali naman yung the one that came out on top of during the validation study. Medyo madali naman siyang gamitin.
Madali siya. Okay.
But the other one kasi yung InView, it's a smartphone-based camera. So medyo mahirap siya talagang gamitin.
Okay.
Kasi yung positioning is very difficult. But with the Aurora device, meron kasi siyang parang cup that you place on top of the eye talaga. So mas madali po.
Okay.
So
and one more question.
Yes, sir.
One more question, Sigo. Di ba your AI here is point of care AI, and then you
Yes.
decrease the rate of the
Mm.
readings that need to be done by a central reading center, no?
Yes.
But with the failure, not naman hindi naman mataas yung failure rate, but what happens to those cases that fall through the cracks? I'm just wondering if we have parang methods to or means to protect those naman na ano, is there a possible na babaan yung criteria for referable DM retinopathy because nga mas mataas ng konti yung failure rate, something to that effect?
In our protocol, sir, pag nag-AI failure rate, automatic refer siya.
Refers, okay.
Yes, sir. Referred siya to the clinic for in-person exam.
Okay, all right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does anyone else have a question for Resi?
Hi, Resi. I have a
Hi.
question lang. Anyway, thanks for the extensive lecture, by the way. Regarding yung AI systems that were developed in other countries, I'm just curious, will these AI systems be reliable and accurate for diverse set of populations? Like, for example, if they were developed in Europe or US,
Yeah.
will they be reliable also in the Asian population or something?
Yeah. So we have to remember that an AI system, an AI algorithm will only work well if it's used on a similar data set or a similar image set on which it was trained. So that's why kailangan talaga yung algorithm optimization. So you have to continuously train the system for it to be more accurate. So as you said, when it's trained on European eyes or North American eyes and you use it on African eyes or more pigmented eyes like Asians, it may not work as well. So that's why we have to do further studies on optimizing the algorithm. So actually, we have that study already also. It just wasn't part of my lecture for today. So we have to continuously train the algorithm using Filipino eyes if we're going to use it here in the Philippines.
I was wondering, Resi, if we're starting to do like AI optimization for tabletop imaging locally, or ano lang tayo, or portable imaging.
Right now, sir, I'm not aware of any AI optimization efforts using tabletop cameras. Yun, sir. So I'm not aware, sir. So baka wala po.
Kasi that might be a good ano for us, no, a good undertaking for us kasi well, the more easily available images for us are tabletop images. So baka we can work from there. At least parallel yung ano mo, no, you're working on point of care portable imaging, and at the same time we're also working on data sets ng ano natin ng tabletop imaging natin, no. So
Actually,
yeah,
possible siya, sir, actually.
Mm.
Pwede nating gawin.
Sige, baka we can sit down and do a multi-center for that, no? Kasi maraming images, there are a lot of images already, no? So and there are a lot
we did
of
it
centers that
Kasi we did it for ano, sir, for handheld. And
yeah,
then we also did it for ultra wide field, but not
yeah,
for your standard tabletop.
standard tabletop.
So
Locally, may ultra wide field na ba tayo na data? TFC
wala,
ba ang
sir.
ginamit mo doon? Wala
Ano
rin,
po?
di ba?
Wala po.
Hindi, ultra
ano,
wide field na data set
yung ultra
locally,
wide field
wala.
data set na ginamit namin, sir, was from Jocelyn.
Jocelyn. Okay.
Okay.
So baka we can pull together all the centers with ultra wide field and then mine the data that we have, no.
Sige.
Baka that's something that you can do with VRSP, no, and spearhead that with VRSP since that's your expertise. Siguro shifting gears a little bit back to hospital setting, no, and not community setting. Can you just give us an idea of how it's done in the NHS and yung diabetic retinopathy screening. It's not usually the ophthalmologist who sends for photographs, di ba? It's usually, ano
The
na yan,
GP, sir.
parang the GPs will send. Can you just walk us through it? Kasi I know that we're doing it in Medical City, no? I was hoping that we will replicate it all over sana. So if you can give us an idea lang of how you do it there.
So in the UK, sir, all people, all residents, and citizens are required to register with the general practitioner. So your general practitioner will be the one to enroll you to the diabetic retinopathy screening program if you have diabetes. Tapos ang mangyayari dun, sir, you will receive an invitation letter to go to a screening site. Tapos dun po, they will take your fundus photos and then they will send that to a centralized reading center. Tapos, yun po, parang babalik na sir yung recommendations if you need to just come back again next year or
Or referable.
if you need to come back more frequently or you need to go to the hospital for an in-person visit. Ganun siya.
Because that's what we're trying to start also, no, in Makati Med, which we've been doing in Medical City, is to encourage referrals straight from our internists, no. Syempre dito internists kasi hospital based, that a fundus photograph should be part of their screening method or their follow-up anong tawag dito, labs, no, like an HbA1c, that you do a fundus photo every year at least, no, and then referable na lang yung mapupunta sa ophthalmologist.
Yes, sir. Ganun, sir, sa UK. So yung makikita namin for in-person na EIO or slit lamp exam namin will be the ones na it's either they have unreadable images or they have referable disease. So mga moderate NPDR pataas.
So efficient na yung yung pupunta sa iyo, hindi no
Hindi lahat.
findings. So okay, thank you. All right, any other questions for Resi? Residents, magtanong na kayo. All right. So if there are no more questions for Resi, again, we'd like to thank Dr. Salongkay for sharing his time with us. No, again, Buena Mano lecture straight from his training abroad. So we're very happy that you can join us. And again, I just want to say to everyone how proud I am personally of Resi. And we're expecting big things from him in the field of diabetic retinopathy and diabetic retinopathy screening here in the Philippines. Something that we really, really need. So thank you very much, Resi.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon. Please stay on. We have a short presentation lang from Sun Pharma. Thank you, Resi.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Ollie, we can have our presentation.
Doc, we're just waiting for Ma'am Arian.
So just for everyone's information, we were supposed to start diabetic retinopathy screening imaging this year, but there was some issues with the software that we're using, the dashboard. But hopefully by March, ma-launch na natin to. So we're launching it for our IM and endo colleagues as well, so they can refer straight to the eye center for non-mydriatic ultra-wide field photographs that our very able retina specialists and readers will grade, and send back to the internist with the grading already. So ang mapupunta sa inyo are actually treatable conditions already, whether may media opacity like cataracts, may enlarged cup disc na glaucoma. So yun, hopefully makita natin lahat sa imaging so that mas efficient ang referral system sa ophthalmologist. Okay, so Ollie, please take over. Thank you.
Good afternoon, doctors. I will share my screen lang po. Ayan. Ask ko lang, Doc, if nakikita na po nila yung screen ko. If po,
Yes.
oops, sorry. Ayan po. So, first of all, doctors, I would like to thank everyone po for allowing me to present our products this afternoon. So, again, doctor, I would like to introduce myself po. I'm Arian De Los Reyes. I'm the medical representative po of Sun Pharma, Philippines. So, I'm handling the Makati area po. So, today, doctors, I'll be just giving you a quick overview po of our eye drops that are currently available po here in the Philippines. But first, doctors, allow me to briefly introduce our company, Sun Pharma. So, sino nga po ba si Sun Pharma? So, Sun Pharma Doctors is the largest pharmaceutical company in India, and we are the fourth largest branded specialty generic worldwide. So, we create products, Doc, that are cost effective and, of course, po, at excellent quality. And our products, doctor, offerings are distinguished by their differentiation based on technology. So for our global footprint, doctors, we are present po in over 100 markets worldwide. And also we have more than 40 manufacturing facilities po, which cater to the different brands of Sun Pharma is carrying. So also, doctor, we have 10 high-tech research and development centers that develop molecules specific to Sun Pharma products. And of course, doctor, we also have plans po approved by the US FDA, Australia, South Africa, and Brazil. And of course, doctor, we have the best-in-class manufacturing facilities po. So, Sun Pharma in the Philippines, doctor. So, Sun Pharma po has been in the Philippine market for over 10 years na po. And we have strong presence in the CNS segments and expertise in super specialty therapy like po oncology. And also, Doctor, Sun Pharma is one of the fastest growing companies in the Philippines. Actually, Doctor, we actively cater po variety of specialties. We have in neurology, psychiatry, oncology, and gastroenterology. And in the year 2022, Doc, we started catering in ophthalmology specialty. So, Sun Ophthalmics, Doc, is our division of the division in the US. So, we have a tagline of providing quality eye care, range for keeping millions of dreams alive in everything. So, this is our product portfolio po, doctor. So, we have for glaucoma management po. So, we have the Latanopros. The brand name is Latopros RT. We also have Timolol Mali po. Brand name is Timolet OD. And Bimatopros, the brand name is Carepros. But for our glaucoma management, doc, let me discuss further po for our Latopros RT, since Latopros RT po yung currently available po namin for glaucoma management kay Mercury Drugstore. So, Latopros RT, doctor, or our Latanopros is, of course, doc, for patients with open angle glaucoma or with ocular hypertension. So, RT, doctor, stands for room temperature. Since our Latopros RT eye drop, doctor, doesn't require refrigeration, it is because of the SMM technology used, or the swollen micelle microemulsion, which is the very own technology used by Sun Pharma to make the Latanopros molecule stable even at room temperature. Kasi di ba, doc, compared with other Latanopros eye drop, they need to refrigerate. While with our Latopros RT, no need for refrigeration, doctor. Also, another safety profile po ng aming Latanoprost RT is that it doesn't have benzalkonium chloride preservative, but it has a milder form of preservative, which is potassium sorbate. So, mas lesser, doctor, yung corneal toxicity compared with other BKC eye drops. Less hyperemia, of course. So, with that, doc, higher level of patient's compliance and, of course, give better quality of life. So, this is given once a day din, doctor, at nighttime. And then we also have for dry eye management, we have the CMC or the carboxymethyl cellulose. Brand name, doctor, is the Isofview. Currently lang ngayon, doctor, out of stock pa kami kay Mercury, but as per the management, possible by this month or early by March, makapag-replenish na po kami ng stocks kay Mercury. So I'll keep you posted, doctor, about sa product availability of Softview. And then, doctor, also po, we have the antibiotics. We have the plain moxifloxacin or Milflox, doctor. And we have the antibiotics plus steroids, si Milflox DM naman po. So for Milflox, doctor, it is a preservative-free formulation that has broad spectrum coverage, and it also prevents corneal scarring. For our Milflox DM, doctor, the Moxi plus Dexa, it is a BKC-free formulation naman po that also promotes comfort on the ocular surface. So it reduces, doctor, the possibility of infection after the surgery and manages the risk of pain and inflammation for post-op. So ayan, doctor, for Milflox and Milflox DM, yan. For your patients, doctor, with bacterial conjunctivitis, especially ngayon, doctor, mukhang common na naman po ulit ang sore eyes sa mga patients. So, for Milflox, doctor, it is already available po in Mercury Drugstore. And for Milflox DM naman, doctor, available na rin kami, doc, kay Mercury and also, doctor, sa Makati Med Pharmacy. So, para, doc, sa mga inpatients nyo, if ever po meron silang inpatient sa Makati Med, available na rin po, doctor, ang aming Milflox DM. And then lastly, for our product portfolio for anti-allergy, we have 2 SKUs, doctor. We have the olopatadine 0.1%, which is the Winolap Plain, and we have olopatadine 0.2%, Winolap DS. So DS, doctor, stands for double strength. So for double strength, doctor, it is once a day, given once a day. Then for Winolap Plain naman, doctor, it's twice a day naman po siya. But both product, Winolap Plain and Winolap Double Strength, it can alleviate the signs and symptoms within 24 hours. Also, doctor, it's safe for long-term use po after 6 weeks. And there's a significant reduction po in ocular itching and redness within 3 minutes naman po. And of course po, it is safe po sa mga kids above 3 years old of age. So for these 2 products, doctor, it is also available po in all Mercury drugstores. So again, doctors, from Sun Ophthalmics, with a tagline of providing quality eye care, range for keeping millions of dreams alive in every day. So thank you so much, doctors.
Thank you po, Doctor. Thank you po, ma'am. Thank you, doctors, for joining us. Thank you, Dr. Resival, for giving your lecture today, Doc. We hope to see more of you po and hear from you, Doc. Thank you po
Thank you po.